Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Persuading for Profits. This is the sales and marketing podcast that gives you the skills, the tools, the strategies you need to go out and crush it in your sales career. We are sponsored by RadioUpdate.com, the industry source for all things radio industry on the internet. Great if you need programming help, if you need technical help, if you need sales, marketing help. Everything's right there on the website, radioupdate.com. We do appreciate them hosting us and promoting us and the patronage getting us going here on the podcast. So I have a very special guest here today. He is an author. He is a sales trainer. He comes to us. Are you coming to us from Canada today?
I am.
West Coast. This is Mr. Rob Herbst from British Columbia, Canada. Rob, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well.
Well, let me just, oh, you're very welcome. Excited to have you. I first came across you when I saw your book on Amazon. I always peruse the sales books to see what's out, what's happening now, what's new. And I got an email from your booker, and I man, that's exactly the guy I want to have on this show. And I'm just going to read a little bit of your bio here. You're the founder and president of Progressive Achievement Associates. You've been in the sales game, I believe, 35 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I started Progressive Achievement Associates Limited 35 years ago, and before that I was with Xerox. I worked in Xerox in sales and sales management and on upwards from there. Yeah,
and so now you have Spire Selling. You have a book out on Amazon called, I love the title, Cheating Death, From Salesperson to Sales Practitioner, Making B2B Sales a Life of Meaning. Definitely want to dive in and talk to you about that. You've worked with companies like Cargill, DuPont, Corteva, H.J. Heinz. You get great accolades everywhere you go. I'm going to read some of them here to you because I always think those are important. Executive VP of Sales from La Vie Bio says, Rob opened my eyes to the idea that sales is the most honest profession you can pursue. He didn't just teach me skills, he challenged my beliefs, my biases, and my excuses. That's Mr. Russ Putland. Mike Badowski said, I don't know if Rob is 30% or 50% of our success. All I know is we couldn't have done it without him. He's the VP of Sales and Operations at Pattison Agriculture. And Eduardo Guevara, Senior Account Manager from Cargill, says, Spire Selling is the best training I've ever experienced in 25 years. Those are high accolades from serious B2B sales organizations where, I mean, if you're a little bit off in that area, in that organization, in the company, things go south very quickly. So that's really high praise coming from them for you. But thank you for being on the podcast. I want to ask you, so you started off 35 years ago, started off working for Xerox. That seems to be a really good company to have learned B2B sales from. Tell me about getting your start there.
Yeah, I mean, Xerox was fantastic in that they were such a pure sales organization, and they had a methodology that really worked. So I guess the highlights of it really were they had both it was a two-way street. As a salesperson, they were very careful about picking the right profile of salesperson, and then they made it into a very exciting profession done in a very specific way. So they had the right person, and then they had the right system, the right sales system and culture and management processes to do that. So it was a wonderful experience. I mean, it was very intense, right? Very live, extremely rewarding. There was nowhere to hide in there. You did your job, but you had to do it in a certain way. And they taught you a very honest way to look at what a customer needs, right?
Yeah. I think that's such a huge advantage. Like even if you look at like art school, right? I mean, who is more independent and expressive than an artist, right? But if you go to art school, you learn how to paint like the masters, right? You learn how to master these techniques and these techniques. And so starting with a company like Xerox, I've done sales throughout my life, and some of it's just been kind of seat of your pants stuff. But after a while, you really start looking for places like, I want to work here because I know they have a system. I don't want to try to reinvent the wheel. I just want to learn their system and see how it works. And I feel that a lot of salespeople want to go into a place and try to just do it their own way. Oh, I'm not like that. This is the way I do stuff. But man, what a great value it is to really have a company to plug into that knows their stuff and has a system, right?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
So I guess one question though is once you get into that system, like Xerox, for example, or anybody else, any major sales company, how then do you manage your own differentiation? How then do you kind of let your own self shine through in the sales process as a salesperson?
You mean yourself or your
Yeah. Yeah.
company? Well, we look at it this way, very basically, Brent. People are buying three things. They're buying your product, they're buying your company, and they're buying you. So all those work together, and your differentiator is your product is, whatever kind of product you're selling has to have its own differentiation, and it has to have its own features, advantages, and benefits in ways that it solves a customer problem. The company itself behind it is what we call expected value. Does your company do what it actually says it's going to do? So that's your product, your company, and then there's you. Do you have to differentiate yourself? You're already your own person. There's no pressure. You'd be performing and trying to be something that you're not. But I look at it this way, and I hope this comes across in the book, Brent, that sales is a very deep profession. It's very deep because for two reasons. One, you have to be quite focused as a student of the customer that you're trying to help. You're focused entirely on what's this customer going through? What's their experience of this? What's their experience of their problem? And then it's also deep from your own personal perspective because you have to have your own deep personal reasons for doing it. Why are you in sales? So this whole body of work over the last many decades of studying salespeople has revealed this. It's become more and more clear. It seems to be much easier to say you are a student of the customer. You have, as a sales practitioner, and that moniker, that label became the most natural way to describe the role of the salesperson, as you are somebody that's there to find and fix a problem. That's what a practitioner is. Think of a doctor, right? They are there to find and fix a problem. That's their total obsession. That makes what you're doing a very noble profession. And in today's world, where customers can and do buy, just like you and I, we buy stuff online all day, every day. So everything kind of gets reduced to a commodity until you have a problem that you're trying to solve that you can't solve. And you need someone to help you. And that
Right.
someone is a salesperson. So that salesperson, if they're really good and highly trained, they want to immerse themselves in finding something that the customer can't see, which isn't really that hard, because the customer is somebody who is in a situation where the creator of the problem can't see the problem. They've been doing things a certain way so often and so long that the objective eyes of a trained salesperson to come in from the outside and say, let me help you examine this. And we'll examine it together. And then we'll get to a solution. But we have to define what we're trying to fix first. I don't know if all that makes sense, Brent.
It makes total sense. And I guess that's kind of the dance of sales, right? Is that, the customer has a problem, but they really don't want to tell you the full problem. I mean, it seems to me that much of the art and the skill of the salesperson is to really create an environment where the customer feels comfortable enough sharing their full problem so you can get it all out on the table, really propose a real solution to it. Because, I think it was Sandler that said that, customers feel perfectly justified lying to the salesperson, right? Because that guy's just going to sell something to me. So that to me is so much of it. I feel that a lot of salespeople today, maybe it's always been the case, but especially with younger generations, kind of shy away from really digging deep to get to the full heart of the problem and just start pushing the solution too soon. Is that something that you see, or is that am I making that up?
No, you're right on. The biggest mistake a salesperson can make is make a presentation too soon. Biggest mistake. It's like, hi, my name's Rob. Stop me when you see something you like. Oh my God. No, stop. Right?
Which is sad because they may need exactly what you have. They may
Yeah.
crave it too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're talking to a young salesman and like you catch a guy doing that, you're like, wait a second. Do you advise them to do outside research on the customer on their own to kind of do their own independent needs assessment and then talk to the customer? Or do you advise them to really dive in and establish a relationship up front where they can really get that information? How do you coach people to getting to that point where, okay, this is the problem and here's how I can help you? Because it seems like once you get to that point, the sale's made, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's a very good point. How much battles are won before they're fought, right?
Right, right.
When you're looking at a customer, if I was trying to see if, well, is Brent and his company a good fit for me? I first say, well, okay, I got an appointment with Brent. It's next Wednesday. Yes, of course, I want to do a search on his company, and it's amazing what you can find. I mean, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Of course, you're going to do a search on a company before you get there. And you're going to get as much understanding of that organization before you get in, their industry problems that they have, and possible technical problems that they're running into. Yeah, you do your pre-work first. But then to begin the relationship, we say, well, we want to build a relationship. Well, relationship is an overused word. We're going to establish a relationship. We found that the most important thing you can do right up front is declare your role. Declare your role with the customer. Right? We're just getting started off, Mr. and Mrs. I'd like to, obviously I'm here because we'd like to do business with you, but we're nowhere near that. I'd like to tell you how I see my role and how I can help you the most. So here's my role. My role, in a nutshell, is to find and fix a problem. It's going to sound like a broken record, but my role is to examine, to help you objectively look at the problem, to analyze it. That doesn't cost you anything, Mr. Customer. But if I can find something that you haven't seen yet, possibly you already know, if I can help define the problem and the cost of it and all the symptoms around it and what led to this, so that if we've earned the right to present a solution, at least we know that that solution has to solve that problem. And the cost of the problem has to be bigger than the cost of the solution, or why would you move forward? That's my role. My role is to examine this. It's really no different as a practitioner than you and I walking into a doctor's office. We don't lie to the doctor.
Yeah,
right?
I guess
There because something's hurting, right? So the doctor says, okay, this is my role. I'm going to examine, I'm going to look at things that you can't see.
yeah, so I guess that's the difference. I mean, it's nice when you're the doctor and the patient comes into you, but it seems like in sales, you're the doctor and you're going out to the patient and trying to convince them that they have a problem. I mean, is that where is prospect in your eyes, is prospecting like that different than selling? I mean, is it two different objectives there that you're looking for? And when you're out there prospecting, what is your objective there, and how are you trying to get to uncover a problem when, especially when they first encounter you, they have their guard at its absolute highest?
Yeah. So products and services are not invented by stupid people, right? Products and services are invented by companies that say, hey, we've established, we've found, we've studied, we've got data on a need that has to be filled. So here's the customer circumstances that tend to reveal this profile of customer tends to have this kind of problem that our product fits. We already know that. Or companies wouldn't build products. They don't force, for the most part. I'm not talking about consumer. I'm talking about B2B.
Right.
A B2B business, they build products that fix a problem that they know a customer has. So it's not hard to go to a customer in the right profile in that industry and say, we work in your industry. We've studied your industry. There's a certain customer circumstance and customer profile type that tend to have a certain set of problems and experience these symptoms. And that's what I'd like to discuss with you and see and verify and see if you have this type of problem, because if you do, I suspect you have this kind of cost of that problem. Can we have a conversation about that? I mean, the beautiful thing, Brent, is that if you're a decision maker, put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you're a decision maker, you run a department, you run a company, you're a decision maker, you're always looking for to fix problems, right?
Yeah.
And you've already pulled the rabbit out of the hat how many years in a row? Like, you're dying for ideas and problem fixing. A salesperson is welcome. Strong decision makers, they love salespeople. Yeah, come on in. Tell me what you see.
it gives them a chance to become the hero, right? In some sort of situation. I found this, I solved it, I got this guy, here's the deal, and now this problem is solved. Something that I read, and a guy had written a great review for you. He's on the Cheating Death on Amazon. And he talked about your book, and he talked about having the strength to push for a better solution when people view a current practice as comfortable and good enough. I think that is one of the most frustrating things for salespeople. When you've done the needs assessment, you've done everything, you've seen that they have a problem, you've seen that your solution can fix the problem, and there's still the inertia of just, you know what, there's still a little, maybe it's the fear of the unknown. It's like, maybe that'll be worse than this, and maybe this isn't so bad. How do you kind of ferret that out, and how do you handle that in the sales process? How do you teach people to deal with that?
Yeah, well, it's the structure and the anatomy of a sales call. It's interesting, like in the back of our mind, we know that everything we do could be done better.
Right,
In our
right.
business
Yeah.
lives and our personal lives. I mean, I don't know about you, I need all the help I can get, right? If somebody
Same.
comes in and they say, you know, Rob, you could be doing that better. That's my best friend. Friends
Yeah.
don't let friends fail, right? You
Yeah.
know, I've watched you do this, Rob, and I notice you keep doing like this and you keep getting this result.
Yeah.
How's that working out for you, Rob? It's that simple. So the structure, to answer your question, the structure of a sales call, if we say, how are you doing things now? How would you like them to be? Is there a gap?
Right.
It's really, and right after that, it's what's the urgency and severity around it. So where are you now? Where would you like to be? Is there a difference? What's the difference costing you? What's preventing you from getting from here to there? And how much does that bother you? How much is that costing you? Because most of us, business and personal, we have lots of circumstances that could be improving, but we don't do anything about it. Until there's enough pain, until there's, people do things to achieve a benefit or avoid a loss. So
Yes.
until I want something different so badly, I'm not going to act on it. So that's the space that we work in as a salesperson, right? As a sales practitioner, you work in that space in between where are things now and how could things be so much better. Are you interested in having a conversation about how this aspect of your business could be better?
That's so great.
That's an easy conversation to open. Worst case, the customer says, no, I'm not interested. You say, are you sure? Because other customers in your situation experience this problem with this cost, and it's costing them. Does that occur to you? Does that happen to you? Well, yeah, actually. Tell me more about that. That's the space. It's interesting. So way back back at Xerox, we sold photocopiers, right? Well, when do you notice your photocopier? When it's broken.
When it's broken. Yeah. Yeah. When you can't read the copies anymore.
Yeah. So, and it's like your phone. The only time you notice your phone is when it doesn't work, right? So, it's interesting. A trained salesperson is trained to step into problems,
Man,
which is
that's great.
unnatural. You get to train yourself to do that because that's where, much like a doctor, that's where I'm most valuable when something's broken, when something's hurting. And if it continues, this is only going to get worse.
Yeah, train yourself to step into the problem is a great way to put it. And I think a lot of salespeople, there's so much fear there. There's so much, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be impolite. I don't want to come across as pushy.
You're helping.
Exactly. Well, I think a lot of people, though, and maybe this, and I'll have you dive into this a little more, the difference between a salesperson and a sales practitioner. I think a lot of people, salesmen and prospects, see the relationship as adversarial. See the relationship as I have this and I'm trying to get that from this guy and he's trying to protect me and all this stuff. And it's like they kind of have this begrudgingly meet in the middle and hope things to work out. But the way you're talking about it here is just like I'm talking to you as a friend would talk to a friend and pointing out something that's wrong and saying, like, are you sure you don't want me to help you with this? What a much better way to go through life and go through your career as a salesperson, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's just so aggravating, this hangover that we have of the general public towards salespeople. That has got to end. It is not true. A highly trained salesperson is extremely welcome to a business leader or to a decision maker. You are their best friend. So it's the so-called salespeople of the past that were not trained and all they wanted was the deal. They did so much damage. And frankly, we're at a point in time now in business and in commerce where companies are bypassing that. It's like 40% of salespeople are no longer needed. If you're not fixing a problem, if you're not finding and fixing a problem, you're no longer needed. And customers know it, and companies are getting rid of those salespeople. But the beauty is, if you're trying to genuinely, there's a gap inside a company, and if you know that there's something that if they don't improve this and it continues, they're going to run into a big cost. You need not be shy. You don't have to worry. If you start examining that and opening up that space, you're not a pushy salesperson. You're a problem finder. There's a big, it's ridiculous to think that a salesperson would go into a customer situation and just try to push a product. It would be akin to a doctor who specializes in kidney operations and measures themselves on how many kidney operations did I win. Your goal isn't to do the kidney operations. Your goal is to see if somebody needs it.
That is so huge, yeah, and absolutely. So, how many ways I want to go with that? But let's start here. The sales practitioner. Now, from your book, the intro says that you kind of had an epiphany during an outdoor expedition. Could you kind of relate that story to us and how it kind of got you into this space where you are now?
So the very beginning on the mountain?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I love the mountains. I just climbed another one this past weekend. But the mountains are an interesting space. Without getting into the whole story, this would have been 35 years ago. I was on a mountain called Mount Robson with a buddy of mine, and we got ourselves in trouble way up high. We summited, and coming off the summit, we actually took a fall, and my buddy broke his leg. And so there we are, we're up at 13,000 feet, and then it was a nightmare. It started to snow. Long story short, we had to dig a hole, a pit, and cover ourselves and just wait for rescue. We went into our second night and ran out of food, ran out of fuel. With no fuel and it's snowing out, you can't make a hot drink. You can't regulate your body temperature. So we started going hypothermic. So I didn't know. It was like, I don't know if we're going to make it through. And so in my mind, it was, okay, if I come out of this, I'm going to do something that is relevant, that helps people. And I love salespeople. I think salespeople change the world. There's a few things that actually change the world. It might be money, it might be business, it might be government. That's a whole debate. But salespeople change things. It's the only space we work in is the way things are done now and the way they could be better. That's the space a salesperson works in. So that's something that it was so clear.
Yeah.
On the mountain. Right?
It's an almost magical space. It really is, because there's people that are afraid. In a way, it's the hero's journey, right? There are people who are afraid to do that. There are people who are afraid to go out and talk to people. There are people afraid to make presentations. There are people who are afraid to assert themselves in a way that solves a problem and a solution, even if they know that they can, which on one level is probably morally wrong not to do it, right? And it's a very cool space to be in. And you make it that way. I mean, so, the first person I ever really heard talk about being a salesperson in that positive a light was Zig Ziglar back in the day, with he was darn proud to be a salesperson. And that was the time when everybody looked down on the salespeople. It was like lawyers and then salespeople were probably underneath that. And he was, but he really brought dignity to the profession in a way that I hadn't seen from other people. I'm just curious about you. When you were starting off, maybe at Xerox or some other place, were there people that you either like him or listened to on a national level, or just people that mentored you on a personal level that you're able to, that really helped you? And if so, what role did they play in your life to really helping you develop?
Yeah, Brent, the people that helped me the most, the people that, and maybe this was just me, I don't know. I was fascinated by people that made big decisions. They fascinate me to this day. And that's who salespeople deal with. You want to go as
Yes.
high up in the organization. Do yourself a favor. Go as high up in the organization as you possibly can. You're trying to get into a customer. Man, go see the highest level you possibly can. The people that taught me the most were the most, what's the word for them? They had such high integrity. Presidents of companies. I could name names of customers of mine. They're just wonderful people. Those people that gave the testimonials. I mean, they're giving me a testimonial. I would give them one. They were so adamant about finding something that would make an improvement for their whole company. So if they had 1,000 people working for them, they wanted to improve lives for those 1,000 people, and they wanted to improve lives of the customers that they were making products for. So I learned a lot from decision makers, high-level decision makers. They take on bigger and bigger and bigger projects that allow them to amplify and leverage. How can we help more people? So, it's interesting. It's not just the people inside our organizations. Our direct sales managers, their job is to help coach us, Olympic athlete and Olympic coach. Inside our own organizations, you might have mentors that are trying to help you as a salesperson develop your career. But your customers, you're going to, you know you already have. You've met customers who at a very high level, they can appreciate and they respect what you're trying to do as a salesperson. You're trying to help them. And they'll tell you, I'm trying to help you understand how you can help me, at a high level. Those are the people that I learned the most from. It was a pleasure. It was just an honor to get into the president of a company, to get in their office. It was just an honor because they were direct, they were honest, they had high-level priorities. You could feel the weight of the decisions they were trying to make. They would explain it to you. They wanted you to help them, right? That was a cool thing, That was a cool thing.
Yeah, it's so right there. I guess we're talking about two classes of people that have been unfairly portrayed throughout, movies and the media. It's all the people at the top. They're all greedy. They want this. They're just doing this. And salespeople they just this, and this. But once you get into it, I mean, you realize. And I used to be a musician. I used to play music, and people always have kind of hate on other people that made it. But it's like, that guy made it. That guy is there for a reason. There are a whole bunch of other people that want that job, and that guy has certain things, that lady has certain things that got them there. You can say what you want about them, about all this other stuff, but they did the thing to get there, and that's not an accident. And when you start digging into it, you find some really special stuff there, like you said, integrity and the ability to make decisions, and then a lot of times the ability to make really big decisions quickly, and then staying with it. That is fascinating to me. Now, you mentioned sales managers, and I'm curious about this. I saw a statistic the other day. It said that I think in 2024, and I'm not sure how they measure this, but I think it was 80% something, 80 to 90% of salespeople didn't make their sales quota, and that was supposedly higher from 72 or something percent the year before. And then part of the discussion was, well, sales managers usually set sales goals so high that they're not really meant to be met. They set sales quotas artificially high. So I'm curious from your perspective, and I knew you were coming up, so I'm like, I'm going to ask Robert about that. What is the goal when you're a sales manager and you're setting the sales quota for the coming year? What's the art there? Do you want it to be so far out that they really got to stretch, and it's not always, it's going to be something really special if they hit that mark, or it's going to be something, do you want to make it pretty attainable, or how do you, because it just seems to be a pass-fail grade, right? You either made it or you didn't, and close doesn't really count. How do you as a sales manager view the role of a sales manager in that situation?
Yeah, this is fascinating. So I've got another book out. It's called Spire Sales Culture, and it's also available on Amazon, and it's for
Awesome.
sales leaders.
Okay.
So we get Cheating Death for salespeople, and then there's Spire Sales Culture for sales managers.
Okay, nice.
And a big part of that is your whole sales system. We look at it as sales systems, sales management processes, and then frontline execution. If you're going to build a culture. And the sales systems, everything starts with a number. It starts with a forecast. So how do you forecast? And the answer is there's top down and then there's bottom up. So you got to go bottom up first. So what do I mean by that? The first person who should open their mouth and set a sales number is the salesperson. Self-set goals tend to be higher than imposed goals. Self-set goals tend to be higher than imposed goals. If you tell me, Rob, you have to do this, and you're like, okay, I don't know if I want to. If you say, Rob, what number would you like to hit? It's your territory. How many customers you want to get to? What kind of number do you want to hit? I know you tend to be an overachiever. You're in this for a reason. What number would you set? 90% of the time, the salesperson will set a higher number than the sales manager imposes on them.
Really?
That's how you forecast bottom up. Now, don't worry. If you got a salesperson that's sandbagging and they're setting a really low number and all that nonsense, don't worry. You'll call them out. But as a sales manager, you ask the salesperson first, what number do you want to hit? And by the way, it's okay. And I would suggest it's imperative that you start with, how much money do you want to make this year? Like that's gonna tell you a lot about the salesperson, because ultimately you need a win-win-win. A good assignment, a well-run sales assignment is good for the salesperson, it's good for the customer, and it's good for the company. It's win-win-win. So if you ask a salesperson what number do you want to hit? If they're untrained and they're not used to this, they're going to go, well, I'm going to give you a number that you want to hear. Say, no, you got to prove that number because you're the one who's got to hit it. So how many customers? Let's examine your assignment. How many customers in your territory? Out of that, what if you had to split them into tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? What would criteria would you use? You're coaching them now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, what's in this for you? Why are you doing this? I want this career to serve you. It's got to serve you. It's got to serve the customer. It's got to serve the company. Build the number bottom up. Don't worry, you'll adjust it. And don't worry, the company will have a number in mind. And then there's always a number of different lines. There's what the corporate number is from on high. There's what the salesperson number is that they build bottom up. There's the sales manager number who knows the whole team's combination and what they have to submit to make sure it's a predictable number and healthy for the organization. And then there's the final line, which is the actual number, which evolves. So companies get really screwed up when they play all these different games. Right? Or we're going to give them a number. Give them a number that they can't hit. Why would you do that? That doesn't make sense. If they give them a number that's too low, give them a number that's too high. Let's just start with bottom up.
Interesting. Very cool.
You get 100 salespeople and ask 100 salespeople to each submit a forecast and prove it with a territory plan, right? With proper customer profiling. You coach them through that. You can give them the mechanisms and the frameworks to help do that. And the bottom-up number, you find will be very interesting.
That is fascinating.
They're going to hit it. They'll hit it. And of course, you're going to have the top, throw out the top 5% and the bottom 5%.
Right.
But you're going to get closer to a predictable number that you can run a business on.
So you've talked about the difference between a sales practitioner and a regular salesperson. You haven't really completely defined it, but I can kind of pick up on it. What then what's the sales practitioner version of a sales manager? Is that what kind of role is that? Is it a parent? Is it a coach? Is it a boss? I mean, what or is it all three of those, kind of your buddy and all of those different aspects at the same time?
Yeah. So Brent, I like the feel of Olympic athlete, Olympic coach.
I like that. Yeah.
Because if you're an Olympic athlete, you want to perform, right? You enjoy it.
Yeah.
You can't wait to do it, right? You've dedicated your life to it. Much like a salesperson, they want to do this. They're trying to learn from you. So Olympic coach has to establish their role as well. So my job as a coach is to make sure I want you to be successful. So to do that, you want me watching you all the time to try to find something that we can course correct at all times.
Right.
Can you imagine an Olympic athlete saying, no, some sales managers go to a salesperson and they say, so how would you like to be managed? Tenured salespeople say, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. Leave me alone. Just let me run my territory.
Right.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Right,
Imagine an
right,
Olympic athlete. Imagine an
right.
Olympic athlete saying, "Oh no, I've been doing this long enough. I've been pole vaulting for 10 years. Leave me alone. Just let me go to the Olympics." Like it's just so stupid, right? You don't have that. So Olympic athlete, Olympic coach. Establish your role. My job is to create the conditions for you to sell. Now I got to watch you every day. I'm going to help you strategize your accounts. I really want to know how that call went. I'm going to go out and do infield coaching with you.
Yeah.
Once every 4 to 6 weeks, let's go out and make calls together. And every call after every call, I need you to ask for feedback. I'm going to give you feedback, right? That's the big indicator. Do you have people that ask for feedback? Because if they don't ask, this is very telling, right?
It
No,
is.
I don't want any I don't want any feedback. Just let me keep humping along. That's why I called the book Cheating Death. The death that you're trying to cheat is the slow, soul-sucking death of complacency.
Yes. And that's the
I
problem,
want people watching. I want to get better. I want to be more immersed in this beautiful, evolving, crazy, messy business world that we're in.
Yeah, in the Olympic athlete scenario, it's the assumption of excellence. It's the assumption that everybody is there to chase not just winning, but pure excellence and mastery and everything. And so, like, when you're asking the salespeople to make their own goals, what happens when you have salespeople that are fine, you know, just selling a few you know what I'm saying? What do you do with those people that really don't have a burning desire to, I mean, as a salesperson, you want a guy that's hungry, right? You want a guy that's going to want to go out there and land every call and not just like, yeah, you win some, you lose some. I'm happy here. I'm making enough. This meets all my levels. What do you do in that situation as a sales manager, assuming that you've inherited them or mistakenly hired them? And you know, it's like, I don't know, in a baseball analogy, maybe it's like a pitcher that goes out there and burns innings so you don't blow through your bullpen. But, you know, you don't want a whole team of those, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting, Brent. Like if you use sports analogies, I like the way athletes get paid in professional golf
Yeah,
because you gotta shoot the score and sink the putt before you get paid,
right.
right? So you talked about baseball. I mean, we can complain about that all we want, but how many guys are in there and they get their high salary and they're quite content to not play. So I guess the way we answer that is you want an environment, you want a culture where you put it on the line. Like you put your people on the line as well. Because I can't help it. I'm running a business. As a salesperson, you're running a business. Your territory is your franchise. So what do you want to do with your franchise? I just want to coast. I just want to get by. So now you use data. Now you use a scoreboard. And by the way, stack ranking your team visibly every week is a good thing. Where is everybody at? If I got 100 people in the sales force and 10 different teams, and on each team and the whole sales force, they all have a number. You can post percentage of sales year to date for Rob Herbst territory. Okay, so if I'm halfway through the year and I'm at 50% of my goal year to date, I'm on track. I'm not underachieving, but I'm not overachieving. If I do that and I look at that, that's okay. That's a healthy thing. Where are your numbers? Where are you against your forecast? I want to help, right? So the more you got to inspect what you expect. So,
Yeah.
we like to say there's three big parts of a sales culture. Three big parts. They're anchors. They're three anchors of a sales culture. The first is personal development. Salespeople are always working on themselves, trying to get working on themselves. That
Yeah.
self-development thing, that self-improvement. It's like the athlete, right? I'm trying to get better. What am I doing wrong? What can I do? But this could be better. How do I get from here to here? Personal development. The second is expectations. Clear expectations. And expectations are, what can I depend on you for? What can you depend on me for? That drains the water on a lot of things, right?
It does.
Including, are you going to hit your number? Yeah, but how are we going to do that? How can I help you to do that? What do you need from me in order to do that? And every salesperson is different. And then the third anchor, first is personal development. Second is expectations, clear expectations. The third is achievement.
Yeah.
Salespeople love to achieve.
Get it done. Yeah.
They just love it, right?
Yeah.
Did I hit it? Did I achieve it? How did that call go? Yeah, I got that appointment. I finally got in to see that guy. He was crusty, but he finally gave me the appointment, right? It's just, That's a natural thing for a human being.
That is great, because that was actually kind of one of my questions to you, is like, what is the difference in the mindset between a poor or average salesperson and an excellent and a great one? And a lot of it is just that desire for self-improvement, that desire to achieve, that desire to be excellent, which is a lot. Hopefully it's to make money too, because that's usually how everything score is kept. But are there other things besides that, on a kind of a personal confidence level, that they have that other people don't have? Is there just an overall belief? Is it an expectation that they're going to win? I mean, what is that kind of missing ingredient that if you could put it into every salesperson in your organization, they would automatically get better?
Truth.
Expand on that.
Truth works very well with a customer. Truth works very well for, why am I doing this? Truth allows you to ask a very clear question on expectations. Truth is a wonderful thing. Now, it's an overused word. Truth is under the microscope in today's world, isn't it?
It is.
We don't know what's the truth anymore. Well, how are we going to find it? A salesperson who has to answer the question, right? Because a sales manager is asking them, why are you doing this? What would you like to get out of this? What's that customer really need? Is this profile of customers really a fit for the product? The truth of the answer, would I buy this product if I was the customer? If the answer is yes, I'm a dog with a bone. I'm not letting that customer go until they understand that I've done my job. Mr. Customer, you have this problem, it's costing you this much, and this product could fix that. Why are you not buying it? That's a question of truth. That's not being pushy. That's obsessed with truth. Is this a good fit here? Should we be doing this? But it's calling people out, right? And having a truthful conversation.
That's
honest. That's just honesty.
Yeah, that's
an obsession with truth of things is a really nice indicator of a salesperson.
That is so great.
It's everyday fun.
Yeah, once you have that truth, especially about who you are, why you're doing it, and what every interaction, man, that is such a game changer. So I want to ask you, we're up against the clock here. I want to ask you two more things. One, just really quickly, with AI coming into the world the way it is, I mean, what is your take on that? And I guess the one thing is I see AI as a tool. No, I've seen like the win.ai, which, salespeople can use it's on their screen. It takes notes during the sales call. It puts stuff in the CRM, because I know salespeople hate that, and kind of guides people through the call. To me, that's a cool use of a tool, because it's just kind of helping you and making sure that things that need to get done. It's not necessarily a replacement. I think both owners and managers and actually salespeople themselves look for AI to be replacements in certain ways, when really, maybe someday it will be, but for now it's just a tool. So what is your take on that whole the AI thing right now? And what is your take on how can salespeople and sales managers use AI to their advantage in today's world?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, Brent. AI is a tool, no question. It's sure in its infancy. But, I use it more and more. Grok, I really like Grok. ChatGPT's good, but it really is. It's for information. It's for options. It's for resources. One thing AI cannot do is the human experience, right? The human experience. So you go into a customer and they have an experience of a problem. The ramifications of that problem are going to manifest in other humans, right? Production data is available. Financial data is available. The complexity, the mesh of a problem is always going to need a human being. Typically, just like that if you've worked with organizations and worked with managers, that a manager's day, 50% of a manager's day is handling people problems. Yeah. So that tells us that every production problem, every data problem, every financial problem, any business problem, 50% of it is how the people are affecting it and creating it and hiding from it and being, suffering from it. It's, every customer opportunity and customer problem is, how is the front line feeling the pain of that problem? Problems are complex. AI can't get through that. Not a chance. Never will. Not a chance. Takes a salesperson. A salesperson has to go step into the mess. Salesperson steps into the problem. If you understand how much value you provide by helping a customer think, helping a customer make a decision better than they would otherwise make it on their own, then you understand your role. AI can't do it.
It's very good.
But you have to go into the questioning these people, question decision maker, and then say, you know what, I got to question your team. Let me study the front line and see how this problem is being experienced on the front line, and just look.
Yeah, AI doesn't lose sleep at night. I mean, Grok's always well rested when I talk to him, and so yeah, I appreciate that. I think you're absolutely right there. And speaking of truth, I mean, conceivably, you could even, I think there's going to be, it seems like there's a backlash of some sorts where someday it's going to be even more valuable to talk to a real person. You know, I don't, with all these people running the AI chatbots out there, it's like, oh my gosh, it's an AI thing. And some people are fine with it, whatever. But at some point, you're just like, I want to talk to somebody who can really get this and really dive into this and help me understand this. And I could talk football with while we're doing the deal,
Yeah.
So one last thing, I always ask people this. You're curious to get your answer. Maybe it's not the best question, but it's the one I'm going with for now, for this season of the podcast, is you're getting an Uber, you're getting a taxi, you're talking to the guy or the lady who's driving, and they say that they're a salesperson and they're just getting started in their career. And, you've had a good conversation and you have like a minute or two left and you're about to pull up to your stop and you want to give them some really good advice, how they can really go out and help their career, what your secret sauce that you're pouring into them. What do you tell them as your best advice to really have a successful sales career?
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do is you got to cut your teeth, make a lot of calls, get as high in the organization as you can. Ask questions, be honest. Be a student, not a master. One of the things that it drives me absolutely nuts is when you see salespeople being trained to act a certain way or to say a certain thing. When we do, I've trained thousands of salespeople, and as soon as I see people in the classroom saying, if you're role playing and I say something and I play part of the role play or something, and they'll say, geez, I like the way you said that. I'm going to write it down. As if you say something and it magically makes somebody do something. You're not making people do things. Don't say things just because they sound good.
Right.
Go in your heart. Find problems. Understand how a decision maker thinks. The only way to do that is set appointments, declare your role, tell people exactly what you're doing. Tell your customer, if you're going to ask a question, tell them why you're asking that question, because you're trying to understand. Be a student. Just be a student. The more calls you make, you will learn quickly. If you're from a standing start, your first week in your territory, try to make 10 or 20 calls. Don't worry, you're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are not a problem. Everybody knows what you're doing. Your customer knows you're there trying to sell them something. Just tell them right up front, I'm here because I'd like to do business with you. All I know to do is to ask you questions, and we'll find out if we're a fit.
That's very good advice. That was the Sandler book, right? You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. You have to get out there. You have to do it. Yeah. You have to. And I feel also there's a lot, I read this, and you can look it up. It's from Cracked magazine or whatever years ago, but this guy wrote an article called How the Karate Kid Ruined Modern Culture. And it's like the Karate Kid started this thing where there's this, 8-minute montage where all of a sudden the guy goes from amateur to expert. And people think that that's the way it is in real life. And I think a lot of salespeople burn out because they think, oh, I should have been better by now. I should have been I should be farther along. And it's like, you got to pay your dues. You got to learn from the situation. You got to realize that the next time you're in that situation, you'll handle it better. And if you don't do it that time, you'll do it the time after. And you just got to stick with it and give yourself the time and let yourself really mature and just understand that that's part of the process. I don't think enough people really get that these days. And I think a lot of salespeople get burned out really quickly because of that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, be in it. Just be in. Get used to being in a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Do
such
your
great
help.
advice. And I believe you said, is this quote from you, every calling is great when it's greatly pursued.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Yeah.
That's a wonderful quote and a great approach to take to being a salesperson. Thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate your time. Where can people find
Right.
you online? I know your book is on Amazon. We will definitely link to everything. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, so two places. Our website is spireselling.com. You can watch my YouTube channel. It's at Spire Selling. Yeah, both the books. I'd love to hear people's response to it. Cheating Death for salespeople, and then Spire Sales Culture for sales leaders, managers, VPs, etc. That's the easiest way to find us. And then I'm on LinkedIn as well.
That is awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thank you very much for your time today. I know we had a little trouble getting things going, so thank you for hanging in there. And I appreciate you. This has been very fun. We'll have to do this again soon.
love to.
Once again, this is Robert Herbst, the author of Cheating Death: From Salesperson to Sales Practitioner, Making B2B Sales a Life of Meaning. Check it out if you are a salesperson, if somebody you know and love is a salesperson. It's just a great book that really shines value on what they're actually doing as salespeople and in the industry. And thank you again for everybody for listening. We will be back next week with another great episode. Thank you to Radio Update again for hosting us. And until next time, we'll see you. Go out there and crush it in your sales career. Have a great day. Bye-bye.